Okay, before we get started, I would like to give you a little bit of information about Jennifer, just in case you're not familiar with her. Gerontologist speaker Jennifer Fitzpatrick is the founder of Generations Health, Inc. and is the author of Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One. She is also a longtime gerontology instructor at Johns Hopkins University. She has been featured in Fast Company, Forbes, U.S. News and World Report, and on Morton's Business Radio on Sirius XM. When she's not speaking and writing about dementia, caregiving, and generational issues, she can be found trying to resist watching those Law & Order SVU marathons. Please join me in welcoming today's webinar leader, Jennifer L. Fitzpatrick, MSW, CSP.
Thank you so much, Darlene. This is Jennifer Fitzpatrick. Really excited to be here with you all today. For those of us, I just want to note, those of us who are joining this program live, if you are a nursing home administrator and you need CE credits, as Darlene mentioned, you can get your certificate after you complete your evaluation and your post-test. But for those of you who are joining the recorded version, we are recording this program today. So if you are joining us for the recorded version, there may or may not be CEs attached to that. So you would just note that if you're listening for the recorded version. So today we're going to talk about how to boost occupancy for nursing home, assisted living, senior living, continuing care retirement communities, but also these tips can be applied as well to home care, hospice, organizations in ancillary to senior living and older adult services. Now, I'm basing this program on the fact that Generations has done thousands and thousands of events for the aforementioned groups and organizations. We are focusing on an event. These events that we're talking about today are when you have a free event, you're offering a free or maybe a low-cost event to try to draw traffic for marketing purposes to your senior living community or to your organization. So every tip that we're going to share today has to do with a free or low-cost event that you're having for marketing purposes to generate interest in your organization, to boost your occupancy. Some of your organizations call it your census. So that, I just want to be real clear that that is what kind of events that we are talking about today. So a lot of times, one of the things that I find from all my years in working in this arena is so many administrators, marketing staff, community relations, whatever word that they might use in their title, they don't necessarily understand why they're being asked to do these events. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people don't always understand why. It might be an edict that comes down from your corporate office. You need to do X amount of CE events. You need to do X amount of community events. You need to do X amount of, inquiry or prospective resident events. And I think a lot of times people don't completely understand the reason. And I think the reason is, at least in my perspective, is because you really can boost occupancy and census and interest in your organization if you fully take advantage of the fact that you can get at least 4 to 8 contacts with your target audience whenever you decide to do one of these events. And that's what we're going to explain. How do you successfully do that? What I'd like to ask everybody to do, write in, for those of you who are joining us live, I want you to write in A, B, C, or D. What do you believe is the most common mistake in CE senior event planning? Is it A, viewing the event as a one-day project? B, choosing the wrong time of day for the event? C, not inviting the right people? D, not giving yourself enough time to publicize? So all of these are mistakes, but I want to know, what do you think, and this is my perspective, of course, what do you think I'm going to say is the biggest mistake? So people are starting to write in. So I haven't seen the right I haven't seen the correct answer just yet. So I'm going to see if anybody else writes it in. I got a D, I got a C. See if anybody else writes in. So while C and D are definitely events, mistakes that we might make in senior living events, I believe very, very strongly that viewing viewing the event as a one-day project is your biggest mistake. So certainly we want to choose the right time of day. We want to pick a time that works for the target audience that we are inviting. And for every geographic area and every target audience, it's different. Obviously, not inviting the right people is, if you're having a CE event for physical therapists and occupational therapists, you want to make sure you're inviting physical and occupational therapists. But that's not the biggest mistake. D, not giving yourself enough time to publicize. It's funny because I know there's organizations sometimes that want to, they got to mandate a lot of times from their corporate office. We need to have another event. You've got to have an event. You got to get some traffic in this community. And suddenly the person in charge, the administrator, the executive director, the marketing director, they say, okay, we should have an event in 2 weeks. For a lot of organizations, that's simply not enough time to prepare. But the biggest mistake is A, viewing the event as a one-day project. Because I think a lot of times people focus on, okay, we're going to have this event. It's going to be great. We're going to have really nice food. We're going to have a great speaker or a great, whatever we're going to have in here. Maybe, it's interesting. Yesterday, I just saw a senior living community. They're having a yoga event. They're inviting all their professional referral sources in to do a free yoga class, which is great. That's another type of event that you can do. But viewing it as a one-day project, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake. And I'm going to get into detail as to why. Because if you're doing the event correctly, in order to truly boost your census, your occupancy, whatever term you use, you want to look at this as an event, as a project that's months long. Little pieces, little steps over courses of months. So I'm going to ask you another poll. In most markets, getting a good turnout for an inquiry adult child is influenced most by what? So the reason that I ask this question is all of these are very good in getting, if you're looking to get prospective residents or the family members of prospective residents or prospective patients into your event, what influences it the most? Now, in my experience, all of these influence it, but I believe that there's one thing that distinguishes it. So if you would, write in what you believe most influences getting a good turnout for an adult child. Some people call it an inquiry event, a family event, a prospective resident event. What do you think that's influenced most by? So it's interesting. All of these are going to be good. All of these are components of your marketing campaign to have a successful event. But I haven't seen the correct answer just yet. All of them are important. But what do you think is the most important? So a lot of people are shocked by this because I think a lot of us are moving away from this. But in my experience, over the thousands and thousands of events that I've been involved with, these free events that for adult kids, inquiries, having a local newspaper ad is probably the biggest influencer. I see a lot of organizations moving away from doing print. everything's going online. Social media posts, word of mouth, even people are still sometimes mailing flyers out to their database. But a lot of people are really trying to go paperless, trying to go green. But I'll tell you what, a lot of your inquiries, your adult kids are still in the baby boomer age group. They are still sometimes even in the older than baby boomer group, the traditionalist age group. Sometimes we've got 78-year-olds looking for a community for their 100-year-old mother. These are folks that still want to get newsprint on their hands. They still read the local newspaper. So all of this is important, but I do see a shift in a lot of organizations saying that they're going to skip anything that's not green. They're going to do everything digitally. And I believe that that's a mistake. So let's talk about what are the tasks that you can do that lead to 4 to 8 contacts with each referral source or prospective resident family member. So anytime you have an event, any event, whether it's for professionals, whether it's for families, any event, whether it's a live event or whether you're having an online event, you can get at least 4 to 8 contacts with every single person that you're inviting to the event. And this is what we mean by it's not a one-day project. It's a many weeks, or sometimes, in a lot of cases, several month-long project. So as we go through the timeline and the formula, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have suggestions on what you're doing that's working, or something you're trying that you want some feedback on, feel free to write in on the chat section. So, okay, let's say you've never had an event before, or let's say you have events and you get 2 people. This is where I want you to start. I want you to start looking 6 to 12 months ahead of time. If you are part of a corporation or a large organization, they're going to want you to do some sort of marketing plan. And doing it 6 to 8 months out 6 to 12 months out is a great time to think about strategy. When you have events during this time period, what do you want the events? What's the goal? What do you want? Do you want to highlight your rehab? Do you want to highlight your dementia-friendly activities? Do you want to highlight that, what is that you want to highlight? Once recently, I worked with an organization that wanted to highlight that they were using certain principles that they were using, say, validation in their memory care, that's something that they wanted to highlight, or that they wanted to highlight their restaurant and that their residents can eat meals anytime they want, just like the restaurant. It's not dining from 6 to 8 or 5 to 7, but it's sort of like a restaurant where the restaurant's open from 4 to 10. Residents can come in anytime and order a meal. That was something special that they wanted to highlight. So when you're thinking about your events, what is your strategy? What do you want to do with your event? What's the goal? So about 2 to 4 months out, you want to be thinking about who do you want at your event. So is it an inquiry event? Is it so inquiry is prospective residents, prospective families, both? Is it to boost your memory care part of your community? So you really want to attract people who are taking care of a loved one who has dementia? Is it you want general referral sources? So social workers, nurses, you want care managers, you want occupational therapists, people that are in a position to, if they see people that are appropriate for the kinds of services that you provide, that they might give you a call or give your card or give your brochure out. So it's important to think about, who do you want? Who is your target audience? Who do you want at your event? Be really clear. Who do I want? And one of the things that can be great during this 2 to 4 month planning period is ask your prospective attendees What kind of event do they want to go to? So, for example, one organization that I worked with, what they did when they were starting to plan, whenever they had a tour of families or a prospective resident coming in, they would give them a list of topics that they were considering having in the next 6 months for events. And they said, can you pick your top 3? So every time that somebody came into their community, they gave this person this card and said, what kind of events would be most appealing to you? Now, one of the things that's really nice about this is you're getting real-time feedback from the people that you're marketing to get them into the event. But you're also getting some really good clarity from your target market. What are they interested in? Would they like to hear a speaker? Would they like a support group? Would they like a yoga class? Would they like just to come and maybe do a project, like work on a volunteer project, like maybe knitting caps? What kinds of things would get them out of the house and to your community? And again, prospective residents will have different answers than prospective caregivers, family members. Prospective referral sources are going to still have different answers. And a lot of times, I think with the referral sources, a good thing to do is to send out a free Survey Monkey. So you can use Survey Monkey and say, maybe engage with a speaker or a company who can provide, CE credits or provide some kind of professional presentation. And what you would do is send out a Survey Monkey and say, here are the topics that this speaker, this organization can offer. Which one do you like? And then maybe also ask them, what time of day works well for you? Is Saturday better than a weekday? Is evening better than morning? And listen to their responses. Because again, with the professional referral sources, if you get this information, not only are you getting real-time information from who you want to refer to you, who you want to come into your event, you're getting their buy-in and they feel like they've contributed to you planning the event a bit. And a lot of times they're going to be more inclined to attend when you actually have it. So when you get the feedback, you want to listen to the feedback. Feel free to jump in at any point with comments or questions. So 2 to 4 months out, at this point, you want to choose event partners if needed. Now, this is an area where I see a lot of organizations don't do it. Now, obviously, let's say you're a senior living organization, and maybe there's 4 senior living organizations in your zip code. Now, maybe you're not going to say, I'm going to partner with another senior living, because maybe you're friendly competitors, but you're still competitors. But maybe I'm going to partner with an elder law firm. Maybe I'm going to partner with a hospice group. Maybe I'm going to partner with a financial planning group, or maybe my long-term care pharmacy that works with me would be willing to partner with us. And so when you bring in an event partner, you get a lot of benefits out of that. So let's just say you're a senior living organization, you're a nursing home, you're assisted living, you're a CCRC, you're a life care community, and you decide that you're going to partner with an elder law firm. That gives you so much access to the elder law firms. They're going to do marketing also. You're not competing, because if you have, say, let's say you're going to have an inquiry event where you're having prospective caregivers that might move their loved one into your community. Well, not only are you having the that you're going to be able to showcase what your organization offers in way of how you can reduce caregiver stress, the kinds of safe, healthy, happy community that you offer for their loved one. But if that person needs help figuring out their financial situation, well, there's an elder law attorney on site that maybe they can work with if they're trying to figure out how to afford this for their loved one. So I think it's really important to, looks like we have a question. I think, oh, okay, great. I have a great comment. I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna get to that comment in a minute. But the other nice thing that can happen, I think, is you're building a partnership with that elder law firm, right? So it's you're getting access to both databases. Everybody's doing mailers, everybody's marketing. You're building and solidifying your relationship with that elder law firm, and it's not like you're competing with each other. You're being able to complement one another. So Annette says, a really bummer. I partnered with 2 other assisted livings for an event. It backfired as the other assisted livings thought we were exclusive instead of playing nice in the sandbox. So I'm curious, Annette, do you work for an assisted living? Or I'm wondering if it was 3 assisted livings that partnered, or is it that it was your organization is a different kind of organization? But yeah, I know even if it's a friendly competition, you're still competitors. So I think it generally works better. Yeah, all three, all 3 ALs in the same neighborhood. I'm not saying it's bad. Sometimes it can work out beautifully. But, because I think all assisted livings, all nursing homes, all home care agencies, we all have our niches. And so let's say that one assisted living was strictly for memory care, and one assisted living was, they focused on psychiatric. That was one of their specialties. And one was more of a really high end for people that are independent. That could work. I think that they have to be highly niched in order to partner in that way for an event that's taking place at one of your communities. But as far as um, as far as partners, I really think pick a complementary organization, a home care agency. So if you're a home care agency, pick one assisted living or one nursing home. If you're an assisted living, pick one elder law firm and one hospice. And again, you don't have to, if you're going to do a lot of events, which I hope you do, because I think it's a great way to get traffic into your organization and boost your occupancy, your census. You don't have to always partner with the same groups. You can mix it up, partner with different people, get to know. I just really think when you partner with another organization, it really solidifies your relationship with them. So consider choosing event partners. The other big advantage of choosing event partners is the budget issue. So as you probably know, having an event can be really inexpensive or it can be quite expensive. So when you're having, in my opinion, better events cost some money. If you're having people, you're having an event where you're having a good speaker is going to cost money. If you're having an event where you're offering a free yoga class, you're going to have to pay that yoga instructor. If you're having an event where you're offering, I know people do these dash and dines, where you'll have, people come in, they take a tour, then they get a meal to go. It can be expensive to pay for the food. But if you partner with somebody else, you can split those costs. And you can do it in all kinds of creative ways, but that can be really helpful to know, all right, it's more than just one organization footing the bill for this cost. So if you are doing it, let's say you work in an area where you're part of a corporation or you're part of a large nonprofit and you have a cluster, and maybe you have a regional sales manager or marketing manager, or you maybe want to talk to the other or team members or colleagues in your area to make sure you're not having a competing event. So I know a lot of organizations, sometimes it gets very frustrating, but the corporate office builds, 2 communities in the same zip code. And that can be really, really, stressful. So if you're both having an event on the same week, that might be tough. Maybe stagger your events. You might want to have one person has their event in March, the other person has their early March, the other person has their event in late May. Or late April or something like that. But also you want to be mindful of what are the big events that whether you're doing your family prospective residents, your prospective family members might go to. the referral sources in your area. So for example, maybe there's a big dementia conference, or maybe there's a senior expo. I think it's really important to consider if there's other events on your calendar. And of course, being mindful of holidays, being mindful of when the big vacation times are, but just try to be careful, look really closely at the calendar before you set the date. Secure your speaker, your entertainment, or other wows. You might be simply having a happy hour for professionals, and you're going to have a musician come in. That's great, but just try to book that ahead of time. Try to look at that at least 2 to 4 months out. And it's not just because you want to have your first choice of a speaker or entertainment, but you want to have plenty of time to market. And that's what I think. Sometimes we'll get calls at our organization and somebody will say, oh, can you do an event for us in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks? And we might have somebody available. One of our speakers might actually be available, which would be great. But we really tell folks, we don't want to do it for you. While we have a speaker available, I don't think it's in your best interest. It doesn't sound like you have enough time. If this is an event that you have to market to the public, I don't think you have enough time to do that. So if you're hosting a CE event, think about what kind of credits do you want to offer. And I know a lot of people go for social work, which is great, but there are so many types of credits and so many untapped markets out there. There are so many professionals that the senior living and healthcare free events are not targeting. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, nursing home administrator, assisted living manager. In some states, there's a different designation. Certified dementia practitioner, activity professional, certified financial professional, CLE for legal professional. So a lot of elder law attorney firms are going to know who you are, but general firms often are not going to know who you are. So maybe it's a lawyer that's in that area of where your organization is. They don't know what the services are that are out there. If they're not specifically an elder law firm, if you have a CLE, that might be really great for them. And in a lot of cases, you can have multiple different disciplines at the same event. But the list goes on and on and on for the types of credits that you could possibly offer. Nursing, the only thing to keep in mind about nursing is there's a lot of very strict rules about nursing. You really can't do any promotion at your event. You really can't give a speech about your event. You can't give out pens and giveaways in your event. There are some strict rules, but for others, other types of CEs, it's less strict. Any comments, any questions, feel free to jump right in. We're glad to make this as interactive as possible. And for those of you who are joining us by recording, if you have not, you're not joining us live, you can always email us at contact@generationshealth.com with any questions or comments. So about 4 to 12 weeks out, plan your advertisements. So are you going to advertise in the newspaper? Now, I would say for family events, inquiry events, prospective resident events, you absolutely want to. They are still reading the paper. I would not advertise in a newspaper for a CE event or a professional event. I think that marketing is done much better in other ways that we're going to talk about. But if it is a prospective resident, prospective caregiver event, I would say spend some money on a newspaper ad. These people are still reading the paper. Now, about 25% of all caregivers are millennials now. And so you might say, well, they're not reading the paper. That's true. But think about it. 75% are not millennials. A lot of your target market for prospective caregiver, family caregiver, resident, they're going to be reading newspapers. If you can afford the Chicago Tribune, the Washington Post, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Miami Herald, the Boston Globe, Wonderful. If you can't, consider your local papers that older adults read. So, but as far as other advertising, are there newsletters? Is there a newsletter at the senior center in your community? Are there websites where you could advertise? And sometimes these advertisements are free. Sometimes there's a nominal fee. Think about how you're going to advertise on social media. Are you going to put a meme up? Are you going to do a video? Or you can ask the speaker to do a video. A lot of speakers will do a short video for you that you can post on social media. Are you going to just put the invitation on social media with hashtags, certain hashtags? So be thinking about how you're going to plan out that sort of advertisement. If you're doing it about 2 to 4 months ahead of time, think about a save the date, especially if you've never had a successful event before. If you've had events where 3 people come, if you've had, or maybe you're a brand new organization and you've never had an event, I would consider a save the date. Otherwise, I'd skip the save the date. But if you are newer or you have not had successful events, think about, even if it's an e-blast of a save the date or a mailer via US mail, save the date. So start to do your advertising and get photos and bios of if you're having any featured entertainment speakers. So my opinion, if let's say you're having a happy hour with musicians, I would have a little bio about the musician and I have a photograph of their headshots or their bio that they use for advertising. If you're using a speaker, same thing. So one of my biggest things about if I'm looking at a flyer or an advertisement for an event where there's going to be a speaker, I want to read a little bit about the speaker. I think it does help to have a photo. It humanizes the speaker, but you want to be answering the question to the referral sources, to your prospective residents, your prospective family caregivers, when they think, should I spend my time going to this event? Why do I care what this person has to say? And the bio helps you with that. So you want to write a little something about the person's credentials. The other thing is, let's say, I just saw a really cool advertisement. There's a senior living community that's doing a yoga evening for professionals. They probably could do it for family members too. What an innovative idea. I would put a little bio about the yoga instructor, just a little bit, just maybe their photo. I would say, okay, this is what this person is all about. It just makes people more comfortable, especially if the photo of the speaker or the entertainer looks friendly or fun. But I think a lot of times organizations are very focused that they want to make sure their logo's on it. That's important. You want to have information about your organization. That's the whole reason you're having these events, is to promote your organization and to build your occupancy. But I think it's also important to showcase whoever you're having in your community, whether it's a speaker, whether it's a yoga instructor, whether it's musicians, whoever it may be. So still 4 to 8 weeks out, think about your refreshments. Now, I know I've worked with countless communities that their dining services are just top notch, and their dining services, they can handle doing a great job for breakfast or lunch or dinner or appetizers, whatever it is that the community wants to offer. And there's other organizations where their dining services just can't handle doing resident meals and also doing a special event. So you have to know what works for you. And if you have to have your food catered, if you're not sure that your dining services can do a wonderful job, get it catered. But if you are sure that your organization can do a great job, highlight it. Try to have your chef come in or your head of dining services come in, maybe talk a little bit about the food for a moment, or come in and take a bow after everybody eats, because food is so important in senior living. And that can be something that you're showcasing. That's something that people will remember. So if you're confident in your refreshments and you feel like your dining services can do a great job, highlight them and make sure that you're giving accolades to the staff and the chef. And I think in a lot of cases, highlighting a little bit about your refreshments, especially if you're going to have something really unique or good, can help, believe it or not, get people coming to your event. So let me give you the example of a professional event. If it says refreshments are going to be served, okay, that's one thing. But if you say on your invitation, we're having an omelet station for breakfast, that gets people attention. That will make people think, oh, that sounds interesting. That's a little different. For a family event, I think highlighting the refreshments is more important even than a professional event. Why? Because I'm going to tell you, there are families that are looking at your newspaper ad, or they're looking at your post on social media, or maybe you've handed them a flyer and you've told them about your event. And maybe the event is about how to take care of caregiver stress when you have a loved one who has dementia. Okay? And they think to themselves, it seems like an interesting event, seems like the speaker would be good, but oh gosh, we don't even know for sure if my husband has dementia. We haven't really gotten a proper diagnosis yet. I think he has dementia, but I kind of feel bad going to an event like that. Give them another reason to go. Oh, you know what? It was free wine and cheese. Oh, I thought I'd stop by and have a glass of wine and some cheese. When they see the refreshments on your invitation, it really, really helps. It really does. So think about that. Is there something that you can highlight about refreshments? Again, comments and questions are welcome. 4 to 8 weeks ahead of time on social media. Post regularly on social media. Now, here's the thing about social media. Just because you post at your event once, I see this mistake constantly. People post their event one time and they're like, okay, I posted it on social media. That is an enormous mistake. People think, oh, I'm bothering them. It's not like you're emailing someone directly. If you're emailing somebody every single day, here's our event, here's our event, here's our event, that's not good. But posting at least a couple times a week about your event on your social media page it reminds people. We are, in this day and age, fed so much information. It's unbelievable. You got to keep it top of mind. You got to keep it top of mind. So just keep posting on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on any social media site that you work with. Keep posting and do it consistently. About 4 to 8 weeks out, directly invite your ideal attendee. Okay. So start sending your actual emails. Start sending via U.S. mail your invite. Start when you have tours come in. Start giving out your brochure or your flyer about your event. So when you have a professional come in, maybe it's a care manager, maybe it's a professional organizer, maybe it's a psychotherapist coming in to check it out to see if it's appropriate for their patients and clients. Give them the flyers for not just your professional events, but give them the flyers for your inquiry events that they can share with who they serve. But this is when you want to start directly marketing. Please do a mailer via US mail. Please do. So I will tell you, I'm a Generation Xer. I use a lot of social media. I use email. I'd rather I'd rather get utilize email than talk on the telephone. But that said, I swear I remember stuff that comes in the mail. And I'm guessing that there's some people on this program that you're thinking that you do also. You get so much email, you get so many texts, you see so much on social media that when you actually get a mailer, I think it's special. In fact, yesterday I took a CE class strictly because I got a mailer. I had the mailer on my desk for weeks, and I took a CE class strictly because I had a mailer come via US mail. I know a lot of people are saying, I want to be green. I don't want to spend money on stamps. I don't want to spend money on printing. I'm telling you, especially your inquiries. Remember, a lot of your inquiries are older than millennials. They're older than Generation X even. They're baby boomers. They're traditionalists. The prospective families, the prospective residents, they are older. They still like getting something in the mail. Now, I also think that you should consider this for your referral sources. I really, really do. You'd be shocked how many older adults that are out there still working. People look younger than they ever have. And sometimes I'm shocked. I'll talk to a colleague and they're telling me they're 72. They're telling me they're 80. But they might not be as inclined to see your event on social media. I believe in the power of doing at least minimum mailing out your flyer at least once to your database. Feel free to jump in with comments, questions. If you disagree, that's okay too. Tell me why. So for adult inquiry and child events, again, please emphasize your refreshments. We talked a little bit about emphasizing refreshments. We're having an omelet bar. We're having wine and cheese. We're having Chick-fil-A tray, if you're having it catered. But also the other way, we talked about a little bit about that guilt or that reluctance to come to an event sometimes because they feel guilty. Oh gosh, what would my mom think if she knew I was looking at senior living? Wouldn't she hate it? Wouldn't she hate me? Well, maybe have a giveaway, a book. Maybe give away the book of the speaker from the event. If it's a professional speaker coming in to talk about dementia or caregiving or heart disease or whatever the issue is. Or perhaps maybe you have this yoga instructor coming. Maybe you're going to raffle off 6 free classes at that yoga instructor's studio. Put that down as the giveaway. Like, hey, everybody, just want to put that on your invitations, emphasize it. And when you're talking to people when they RSVP, don't forget to get here early so you can, we're going to give out books till they run out. Have something to give away. It really will make the difference. But emphasizing refreshments and giveaways, it helps to alleviate to that family member, okay, you know what, I don't really necessarily need to go for the information, but wouldn't it be nice to get this free gift? About 4 to 8 weeks out, think about how parking will be handled. I can't tell you how serious I am about this. We have all gone and driven to an event and haven't been able to find parking and driven away in frustration. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. But you got to think about, if you have tight parking, are you going to have your associates and your team members that work at your organization park elsewhere? And you're going to have a bus bring them. Maybe there's a church next door. Or maybe you're going to have valet parking for your guests. But think about it. What are you going to do so people don't drive away because parking is a pain? And you communities that have parking challenges, you know who you are. Even if you don't have parking challenges, if you're expecting a big number, don't forget, please don't forget, you really want to get in there and make sure that you're handling that parking so people are not frustrated. Comments or questions are welcome. Okay, so 4 to 8 weeks out, what are you going to showcase about your organization or your services, and how? So for some senior living organizations, my recommendation is when people come into the building, they walk in, before you take them to the event room, you give them a mini tour. Or you're going to have, if you want to showcase your clinical outcomes, you're going to make sure that your director of rehab comes in and talks a little bit. or you're going to make sure your clinical director or your nurse comes in. Or if there's a special area of, maybe you have a new area of your building that you want people to see. Maybe you just put in a pool. Maybe you just put in a new dining room. Maybe the event's going to take place in the dining room. So be sure to think about what you want to showcase and how you're going to do it. I once worked with an organization that actually, before I began speaking at their events, we built in time that they could do a game of bingo to learn about what their organization offered. It was really cool. People liked it, and there were cool prizes associated with it. But you also want to think about who from your organization is going to do it. I'm shocked by how many people don't think about this ahead of time, and then they have my intro, and they don't want to even read my intro because they hate talking in front of people. And that's fine, but find somebody at your organization that wants to talk in public, that they want to, maybe you're great one-on-one with the residents and the families or the professional referral sources, but you don't like standing in front of a room. That's okay. Find somebody at your building that is. 2 to 4 weeks out, consider doing a press release to your local media. Now, this doesn't guarantee anything, but sometimes you're going to get some free press. Sometimes they'll put a note in their community events section, but other times you might be surprised. They might call you and want to send a member of the local media to your event. They might want to invite you into their TV studio to talk maybe they'll invite the speaker and you to come in, or, if you're having, I recently saw an event where a senior living community was doing a shredding day, which was a really cool idea. And what they were able to do is so people could bring in all their documents and shred them, things that they don't need anymore that are confidential. And they got the local media to do a story on how it's important to protect your identity. But they also linked back to the organization that had the shredding event. So you never know. You might not get anything, but you might get something. Keep marketing to your ideal attendee again and again and again. Be persistent. Just because someone was invited once does not mean that they have decided to come, or that they didn't throw your flyer in the trash, or that your email didn't go to spam. I like to assume that people did not receive the invitation. Keep posting on social media. Keep at it. Just keep being persistent. Do not assume. And I know that administrators and marketing directors, executive directors, you have so much to do. You have so many competing responsibilities. But figure out a way to do this. Decide. And just when I say figure out a way to do this, this is an area where volunteers, student interns often can be really helpful. So if you truly don't have the time, if you have a marketing intern, if you have somebody volunteering, these are some of the things that they can do. We talked about that. By the way, if you're doing an online event, like an online CE event, or maybe you're doing an online family caregiver event, it's very important to decide ahead of time who is going to represent your organization, your region, your company. If you're doing an online event, and again, online CE events are exactly like doing an in-person event, except they completely take place online on Zoom. People can get credits for them. They're interactive. So an online CE event would be exactly like what we're doing here, except it provides, it would be sponsored. It could be sponsored by your organization. So part of the online CE event is in the beginning, the middle, and the end. The organization that sponsors it, if it's a sponsored CE event, they get to do a little commercial about their organization. And in order to build their mailing list, they can decide on a lead magnet. So I'm going to give you an example of a lead magnet right now. If you email me after this event to jen@generationshealth.com, JEN@JENERATIONS health.com, I'm going to send you a free checklist for doing free senior living events. And it also, of course, can be applied for other healthcare organizations, nursing homes, home care, hospice, etc. So that's my lead magnet. That's an example. But you have your lead magnet. So what would that be? Would it be that we're going to send you a book? Are we going to, maybe the lead magnet is stop by our organization within 30 days and get a free bottle of wine. I mean, there's so many different things that you could do. Anything could be a lead magnet. But think about if you actually decide you're going to do an online CE event. Online CE events can be great, especially if you're merging several different geographic areas. I have organizations that my company works with on online CE events that they have communities across the country, or they have communities in like 3 different states. They all pool their resources, their financial budgets together, and then they do an online event, and they can market at the same time to all the referral sources in different geographic areas. But if you're doing an online marketing event, have a lead magnet. The same thing goes if you're having an online family caregiving event. Have a lead magnet. So if you're doing an online family event, what's going to be, okay, you joined us for this online event. It's all wonderful. Great. Thank you for coming. If you email me or you set up an appointment at our community within 30 days, you get entered to win an iPad. I don't know. I'm just making, it could be anything that you want, whatever works for your organization and your budget. Again, feel free to write in any comments, questions. We've talked about you want to prep your ads, but really when you want to run your ads is typically if the ads in the local newspaper 1 to 2 weeks out. Again, if you can afford the big time newspapers, that's awesome. If you cannot, then do your local papers for family inquiry events. Don't waste your money for professional events. Do this for family inquiry events. About 1 to 2 weeks out, for the in-person events that you have at your community, remind your team. You have no idea what it's like. I can tell you countless times I've gone to a community to do an event, and I'm probably the first person there because I'm the speaker. I show up, I'm early, I get to the reception desk, they're like, what event? They have no idea there's an event. It blows my mind. I've gone to gated communities at senior living events and gone to the gate and said, hi, my name's Jennifer. I'm here to do the event. I'm the speaker. What event? It blows my mind because we want your guests to feel welcome. You don't need to make me feel welcome or the speaker. Now, I think it would be nice, like if you're having a vendor come, but you really care about your prospective residents, your prospective family caregivers, and of course, your professional referral sources. You don't want the gatekeeper, or you don't want the receptionist to say, what event? There's an event today. Or them to say, yeah, I knew that we're having an event, but I don't know where to park, or I don't know what room it's in. Let me check. Just prep everybody. Everybody needs to understand that nobody in your organization works unless you have occupancy. And everybody needs to be part of marketing. If you're doing giveaways, door prizes, any kind of collateral like brochures with your information on it, make sure that you have enough at least a week ahead of time. Remember, if you're doing a CE event that involves nursing, you're not allowed to give out collateral. You're not allowed to give out door prizes. About 1 week ahead of time, keep marketing. Don't assume that they're coming. Just assume that they did not get your invitation until you get an RSVP that they are coming. Which brings me to at least 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. Confirm your attendees. Offer helpful directions. And in fact, as the RSVPs trickle in, call them back if they've left you a voicemail. Email them back. Hey, I'm so excited you're coming to our event. So even if the event is not for a month from now, you get their email. Hey, I'm really glad you're coming. I hope you're doing well. It's going to be a great event. Anything special you want to get out of this event? Because that's another touch. That's another contact you're having with your referral source or your prospective resident or family member. But again, in addition to that, 24 to 48 hours out, confirm and offer helpful directions, especially if your organization is in a weird location or that your building is new and it's not going to show up on a GPS, that is so frustrating. The last thing we want is people driving around not knowing how to get to the event. Confirm, this reduces your no-shows. People no-show. I say these events, these free senior living and healthcare marketing events, they're like a wedding. You get a 10% drop off most of the time. Notify your wait list if you have space. So if you get people on the phone, oh, I have a last minute meeting, or oh no, my daughter has a last minute doctor's appointment, I can't come to the event. That way, notify your wait list. Always have a wait list going. About a day out, you want to be setting expectations for your team about what the building should look like, when food should be ready, all of that. Set your expectations very clearly. Prep the reception desk. Again, make sure they know if there's a sign-in required at the reception desk, if they need to be escorted somewhere. This is so critical. And if you have a gate, that's also really important to make sure the gate knows. I'll tell you, one of the things that really stresses me out when I have an event is when the event room is being prepped when I arrive. Now, that's okay. If that's just the speaker saying it, no problem. But I have been to so many events where the attendees are seeing this. The attendees are seeing chairs being set up, food being set up. Now, listen, putting out trays of food, that's fine. But setting up the table for food, if what you're giving them, I think in a lot of cases when that happens is that your building is not prepared. If they can't get this event prepared, what would happen if I brought my loved one here? What would happen if I referred a patient or client here? I don't have confidence. That's what you're saying. Make sure everything's immaculate. Keep on top of the restrooms. Enough said. Everybody knows that. Have handouts ready, especially if there's a speaker that has handouts that are needed. Especially if you have a large community, a large campus, if there's more than one door to your building, please put up signs. There's nothing more frustrating than you finally fought through traffic to get to the event. You go to the wrong building, you go to the wrong door, you've already parked your car, and remember, the professional that's coming to your building, they're busy. If it's a family caregiver, they're stressed out. If it's a prospective resident, they're probably really, really nervous. Gosh, would I really move to a place like this? So make it easy for them to find the door. These are some examples. Get there early the day of the event. I can't tell you how many times I have been the one to greet the people at the event, and the person who is coordinating it on site is not there. And listen, traffic happens, kids get sick, stuff happens in the mornings. I get it, especially if it's an early event. Make sure somebody from your organization is greeting people. During the day of the event, stay for the event. Stay for the event, and here's why. If it's a prospective resident or inquiry family caregiver event, you're going to hear all about their questions and all about their problems. And then if you have solutions that your organization can help, you can follow up with those solutions. I'm really stressed out. I'm up in the middle of the night with my mom because she wanders. Well, the next time you talk to that prospective family member, I heard you're up all night. Don't you think it's time to think about, do you need home care? Do you need senior living? Maybe that way you can get a good night's sleep. If it's a prospective or if it's a referral source, the same thing applies. You can be listening for what are their troubles, what are their problems, what are the ways that your organization might be a good fit to take burdens off of them. During the day of the event, publicize your next event. So have flyers for your next event. Tell people that's your first contact for the next event you're going to happen. And then within a week, have a good reason to follow up with your attendees. I just gave you one example. Mom's wandering in the middle of the night. I heard you say that during the event. How's that going? Have you looked into the Safe Return program with Alzheimer's Association? Have you given any more thought to moving to senior living? Do you want to take another tour? Maybe you simply follow up with a thank you note. Between 24 hours and a week after event, this is something, again, I see people not doing. Now, I wouldn't do this with families or prospective residents. I wouldn't do that with them. But with professionals, you could write a post. Thank you, such and such yoga instructor, for teaching that class to our professional colleagues. And then we had wonderful representation from such and such hospital, such and such care management organization, such and such nursing home. Tag the organizations. And if you have permission from the individuals, tag the individuals. And then people, oh, look, that looked like, take pictures. That looked like a fun event. Next time this organization is having an event, I'm going to go. Encourage those people to share. So I can't tell you how many people I'll tell you what, again, from the thousands and thousands of events that I've done, that my team has done, I would say only about 25%, if that, do all of these and get all the maximize everything they can to keep these relationships moving forward with referral sources and prospective residents and inquiries. Again, a month after the event, have another good reason to follow up. Fill the room, but have a waiting list, but never overfill the room. Have a wait list, and but fill the wait list. And I would say if you have room for 100 people, I would have at least 108 people that you're going to let come. You're going to have people drop off. Couple last tips. Someone is always going to complain about the temperature. You cannot please everyone. Someone is always going to say, I really wish they had sweet and low. They only had equal on your evaluation forms. Believe me, I've seen stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. If something quote unquote goes wrong, most of the time nobody knows but you. So try not to stress. Try to stay calm and roll with it. I know a lot of people find these events stressful. But a couple last tips, ask us for help. We're here to help you. If you have questions, you can re-listen to this and we can send you that checklist. If you send me an email, jen@generationshealth.com, I'm going to send you the checklist that can help you have the most successful events. And the last one, if you are seeing a colleague who keeps having successful events that you've been to, ask them for help. Most people, even if it's a friendly competitor, they're willing to help you. So try not to reinvent the wheel. So I want to thank you all so much. If you are ever interested in scheduling an event with Generations, the information is here. Stephanie@generationshealth.com. If you want that free checklist on how to have a successful event, please email me, jen@generationshealth.com. I'm going to turn it over to Darlene.